Hello, hello, everyone. We are live for another Positive Talk, episode 180. Super excited about today's live, mainly because 8 is both of our lucky numbers, and we are doing episode 180. So, super excited about that. Let's see if I can pull Judy on. There we go.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing
And my
well.
dog wants to join us. I kind of knew that would happen. So,
Love it.
oh my goodness. Do you want to meet him? Have you met him before? I think that he was in that live.
Well,
So, come
I
here, honey.
think so.
No. Let's see. Do you really want to meet everybody? Are you the star of the show? I guess he is. So, starting off positive.
Love it. How are you doing?
Good. I was thinking of calling you earlier and saying you should just come over my house and we should just do it together live.
That would not be a good thing right now because I actually tested positive for COVID. So,
well, there you go.
yeah. So
How are you feeling?
It's been a whirlwind of symptoms all over the place. Like sometimes I feel perfectly fine and then like it just goes out the window and I'm like, oh no, I'm dying. And then I feel better. And it's just like not fun.
Okay, well, everyone listening, put out positive intentions for you to feel good and for you to heal fast and feel better. So all the positive intentions going out towards you right now.
Yes, I need them for sure. Because
okay.
the cold chills, the shortness of breath, like feeling like I'm a million years old when I just walk from my bedroom to my bathroom, like that's not fun.
No, that doesn't sound fun.
But I'm hoping I'm building like antibodies and that this will never happen again because it's not fun.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. I didn't mean to ask you all these. We're getting personal right off the bat.
You're perfectly fine. I figured, I'm all about being authentic, so might as well share that, like, unfortunately it happened.
Yeah.
My sister works at a hospital, so working with COVID patients occasionally, so it was bound to happen eventually, I guess.
Yeah. All right. Where are we going next?
Well,
are you glad we got the fox ears? If anyone asks, these are fox ears. Some people say, why are you wearing bunny ears? My last name is Fox. I wish I was creative, but my last name is Fox. So.
Love it. Well, I will let you introduce yourself so people know who you are, and then we can kind of jump into a discussion.
Yeah, I am Judy Fox. I have my dog barking. I'm really hoping he stops soon. I apologize if that's annoying. How annoying? On a scale of 1 to 10, be honest. Everyone in the comments, on a scale of 1 to 10, do we need to see how cute he is to determine that 1 to 10 number? Please let me know. I'm trying to actually feed him ice from my cup to keep him quiet. So, all right. It's the behind the scenes, right? Yeah. Oh, he's 0 annoying. Thank you. And Steven, thank you. You guys make me feel better. So he's a 1. Okay. Slight, just a little micro bit. Can we at least come? I'm like going to grab him. Hold on. Come on. Get on camera. Get on camera so they can give you all your Fox stars. So, seriously, he matches too. He matches my ears. I feel like he looks like a little bit of a fox. So,
yeah.
Okay, he's going to hang here for a minute and he's going to entertain. So, I am Judy Fox. I have, oh goodness gracious, my career journey, if you just want to go there, I started working in 1999. So I'm in the 90s when I started. When I graduated college, it was 1999. I feel like I'm telling an old, like, scary ghost story. I was 10 years into my career when that whole 2008 economic crisis, and I was in the building and construction industry. So I was in like the early industry that got hit. Thank you. And that's when I joined LinkedIn. So I'm just going to be right out. That's what my job is now. I've spent from 2008 till now on LinkedIn. And I will tell you, the best decision I ever made was realizing it's people. It's people that make your career and your journey what it is. It's people. And we have so many tools to stay connected with people. So obviously it's not just LinkedIn. Like Instagram is connecting us, TikTok is connecting us, YouTube is connecting us. But it's honestly, people just want to work with people. I mean, I was telling somebody on Clubhouse, I was like, you connected me with somebody I'm starting to work with. So it's the ripple effect of people working with people. And I'll just start there because that's why I do what I do on LinkedIn. It's just truly making relationships happen, business relationships.
Yeah. I mean,
I wanted to clarify, not relationships. I'm not a dating expert.
yeah, I mean, I think LinkedIn has been something that I remember people saying, hey, make sure you create a LinkedIn. Like, it's a great way to make professional connections. And it wasn't until here recently that someone that I have done a positive talk with, met through Clubhouse, reached out to me, and she was just like, hey, like, you want to like work together to like update our profiles on LinkedIn. And I mean, I just made the shift to professional entrepreneur, working my own business as a life coach. And I hadn't really dove into LinkedIn for a while. Like the company I worked for before, when I got let go in July, we had like the LinkedIn learnings aspect linked to our company. So we were kind of tied in that way, but it was separate from my LinkedIn that I had started way back in the day when I started college in 2007. So it's been a while. And I had a little bit of an issue of, I gained a lot of traction on YouTube in the early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
And I had some people jump over and find me on LinkedIn, which gave them more information about me as a person than I was willing to kind of give to people.
Oh.
But so I kind of jumped away to where I wasn't keeping it as updated as I should have.
Mm-hmm.
But now that I'm trying to make more professional connections, I am in my 30s now. So I was like, I would like to connect with other professional people. And I think now that I moved to Richmond in the middle of a pandemic, it's harder to make connections. And having your own business where you don't have coworkers, you don't have like other people that you work with on a daily basis, it's a little bit harder to make those connections. And I'm starting to really feel it this year because I don't have coworkers to connect with anymore. So
I'll be
seeking
your
out
coworker.
professional. Perfect. Let's do
it. So yeah, I mean, that's why I was attracted to LinkedIn, same reasons. And of course, I was attracted to Clubhouse for the reasons of being able to talk with people, brainstorm. I could open up a brainstorming room on Clubhouse. That blew my mind when I was sitting at my desk saying, what should I call my newsletter? I could open up a social, not a public, so it didn't need to go to the world, but I could talk to people I've gotten to know online. That's the whole point. How do you talk to people you know online and spend more time with them? Because you're right, we're more separated than ever, just from physical separation. Not our hearts are all connected, but our physical separation is it's just taking a toll. I mean, in some ways on people, on relationships, and these tools, not toll to tools. The tools give us access to each other. That's all they are. I mean, people who get negative, I mean, we're in positive talk, and I love thinking about the positive aspects of all of these tools. Can you bring up the negatives? Sure. But the positives are all freaking there because I mean, the positives of Clubhouse. I think it made a difference in my experience of 2021. I think if I didn't have that type of app to talk with people, I would have probably gotten more potential depression or more deeper like darkness of being alone a lot. So Yeah, I think some of the tools that we have TikTok. That is a tool that has made me
Yes.
laugh harder than so many things. And sure, can those creative people create that content on YouTube? They can create it on Instagram. But the delivery system of that tool, I mean, yeah, it's built for social sharing, but man, that delivery system, it's just delivering one laughing video after the other. The algorithm knows me. The algorithm is like, she just wants to laugh.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the nice thing about those tools is that you can literally create a space for exactly what you need. I think that too often we go out into the world and we're like, I can't find what I need. Like, why hasn't someone created this? But the tools have made it so simple to just kind of create a room on Clubhouse, create a space on LinkedIn to just kind of connect. Because I think that one thing I noticed was I was starting to make the shift where I was jumping to the next stage in my life that my current friends and coworkers weren't making that same jump with me. And
Yeah.
it was kind of like I couldn't really brainstorm with my other friends who were still kind of in the party scene and spending their paychecks on tons of alcohol and things to do on the weekends, where I was like, I really want to invest in some programs and some platforms and advertising. And like, I needed people to be able to communicate with me on that level. And
Mm-hmm.
utilizing those tools, I've connected with so many different coaches, and a lot of people I've done positive talks with, I've connected with through those platforms. And it's really fun to kind of have social media become a professional tool as well, because you can use them for pretty much anything. TikTok has like the funnel of professional videos where it's just like professional sharing advice. And you can find that if it falls into your algorithm and you start watching more of your videos will start to kind of show you that type of content. And I like that.
I agree. I do follow some really great professional advice people on TikTok, because it just these micro moments of how they think. They're sharing how their brain thinks. And sometimes you're like, whoa, that was a mic drop moment. And that's the point. It's like, I really, really appreciate that, because it's these moments that if you were in your office, you might pop by a coworker's cubicle. I was in cubicle land,
Yes.
and you would go over to their cubicle and you would have those moments and you'd be like, oh, that was such a great conversation. You'd go back to your desk and you'd feel good. And then you'd vibe out to We Don't Talk About Bruno, because I just watched Encanto and that song is on repeat in my head. But once you leave that world and you're at home all the time, those moments of micro connections are just not happening. So we're having them now. We have them online. We have all the tools to do it. And if anytime you find yourself thinking, anyone listening, if you find yourself saying, you know what, I don't like this about this app. My dog's standing up now. I don't like that he's standing up. So if you don't like something about an app, I learned this really a long time ago from listening to an Earl Nightingale talk. He's a national award speaker. I don't remember where this talk, I think this talk is from like the 1970s or something, but he said, it's probably his Acres of Diamonds talk, where he talks about how just the most powerful people on the planet start with an empty sheet of paper and they put their problem at the top of the paper. And then they allow their brain to not judge, but write down all the potential solutions, all the options, all the ways they could make that not a problem anymore. And in some part of that, that's the part of the Acres of Diamonds. You have diamonds in your brain. You truly know the answers to your own problems. If you need to brainstorm, get on an IG Live, tell somebody some of your problems. But some of our problems turn out bigger. We make them bigger in our brains because we just ruminate on them, or we don't try to solve them. We just muddle in them. And I mean, I'm guilty of it. I have a whiteboard in my house and I put the problem at the top and I whiteboard all the way down all my solutions. So
Yeah. I
there
mean,
you go.
I had that's like one of the things that I struggle with trying to get my friends to kind of see that shift in mindset, because I mean, if you continue to focus on the negative, like it won't solve itself, and it will multiply, and it will bring other things that are negative, and it will even turn things that could be opportunities into dead end hallways that your brain just can't figure out a way to find a door to kind of get out of it. And I liked utilizing the idea of Clubhouse, because Clubhouse really is a huge house with lots of walls, and it's not until you connect with people that doors start appearing. And it's like you can choose to focus on the negative, and those negative doors will appear for you to walk through. But if you choose to be intentional and create positive, like, we don't have control over everything, but there are things that we control. That would be so overwhelming. But like,
oh, that is true.
but like, I started to realize that I was following some people that were like constantly going into rooms where they wanted to just stir up drama and just talk about how horrible the world is. And I was falling down that hole of just like, oh my gosh, the world is horrible. This pandemic sucks. All these things are happening. All these hateful things are happening to these people and my group of people. And it wasn't until I was like, I'm going to start making my own rooms, which is where like Positive Talks kind of started coming into play. And I started creating my own energy of positivity, and it pushed other people out of the way and started bringing more people to the type of message I wanted to hear. And I was starting to connect with really inspiring people that inspire me on a daily basis. And yeah, I mean, I open up my platforms and I'm sharing stuff on my story like crazy, just because all my friends are sharing stuff. And I'm just like, that's great. I love that. Share it. Put it back out into the universe. More people need to see this.
Oh, I love that. I need to be more like you, where I just share a bunch more. Because to be honest, I taught myself how to be a little bit quieter on social media, which sounds kind of funny, but I didn't even have an Instagram account until 2018, the end of 2018. So beginning of 2019 that I created an Instagram account. Just because I was spending all my time on LinkedIn. I was 24/7 LinkedIn and almost zero social media accounts except for LinkedIn for a while. So that's why I know it really well, but also because it just was a place that made sense to me because of where I was personally in my life. And I think that's good to notice, because we're all making decisions that serve us either at the time or in the moment. So there was a moment that spending time with certain groups of friends, it's powerful and it changes you and it impacts you. And then there's shifts. We're going to go through, I think somebody said 7 shifts of either career or personal circles, because your life shifts as you go through life. It just does. I wish it didn't change. I want to keep all the friendships exactly the same, and I want to freeze them in time, all the memories. But you know what I mean? Like, just, yeah. We know it's going to change. And so have a bit of a in the moment, and then hold on to the good memories. And I love what you're doing, where you're creating. I scrolled back to your first Positive Talk. If anyone's interested, you can scroll all the way back to the first Positive Talk.
Love it.
And what you fill your brain with, it changes your life. So go fill your brain with all of 69 weeks of Positive Talks.
Yeah, it's funny because like in those moments, like the Positive Talks add so much positive like energy to my life. But there are so many times when my friends will actually be like, hey, remember that conversation you had with this person? Go back and watch it. Because there are times when I will say something phenomenal, and even I forget that in moments of stress or trauma or whatever I'm going through. And I need to be reminded of my own wisdom. Like, I have stuff on Facebook with that little time hop thing where it shows 9 years ago, this person posted, and I'm sitting there reading it. I'm like, wow, like that kid was posting stuff that adult me needed to like see today. And it's kind of amazing to kind of see how technology forms that. And it's funny because I talk about how much growth I've had, and I'm like, I'm proud of myself for where I am today. But I feel like I don't give my younger self a lot of credit where credit was due, because younger me was still doing what I'm doing now. I've just gotten better at it, and it feels less awkward when I do it. I actually believe when I say something, whereas when I was younger, I was saying it because I wanted it to be true. But now I actually believe it is true. And it's like, oh, okay. Look at that quote there. Like, I was standing up for people's rights before I even understood what that full like movement meant. And I was like, he was a little uneducated, but he was trying, and I'm proud of him for that.
Can you hear my dog panting?
I could not.
Okay, good, because he's so sweet, but he's like, Mom, your lap's not big enough. He's looking.
Uh, nope, you're fine.
Okay, cool. I was gonna say something. Oh, an idea for you. Now I'm like pointing at you, like, oh, because in my head, I'm thinking, well, if I was running Positive Talks, what would I do? So it's like you have a live journal, right? And you have, because you just said, oh, you should listen back to this episode. So it's not only listen back to an episode, but you could do what's called otter.ai. I use that app to transcribe what I say. So you could have a phrase. Anytime somebody says something or you think you said something, you could actually trigger a phrase. And in your search of your own journal in the future, you'd be able to search for that word and that phrase.
Oh, I like that.
And it's kind of cool. Like, that's like a long-term thing where you actually are thinking years in the future, how would you search your own journals for your knowledge?
Yeah, I mean, even transferring them over to YouTube, because when Facebook and Instagram failed for that day, I was just like, oh my gosh, my life's work is sitting on Instagram, and that's the only place it exists. And I was like, if Instagram were to crash or my account get shut down, like, my Positive Talks would be gone. And like, it's not so much the number of followers and views and everything that I've gotten, it's just the fact that the Positive Talks are so golden that I would never want them to disappear. So doing something like that sounds amazing, because I mean, yeah, even when I was trying to like title them so people kind of knew what the conversations were around, I was having to rewatch them and like, oh, okay, so that's what we talked about. The title of this was going to be physical fitness, because that's kind of where we stuck, but a lot of the conversations kind of bounce all over the place.
Nice. So where are we going next? And shout out to Jennifer. Thank you for the Judy Fox is a badass rock star. My dog approves. Here, he can have a moment on the talk.
He's just like, what's up?
I know. I'm just stopping him from barking, to be honest.
So I think that a really fun direction that we can kind of take the conversation is just, when it comes to LinkedIn, it's making a lot of shifts in becoming a platform that people can use on multiple different levels. I know that being a creative myself, being an influencer that gets paid for the content I make, like, that's kind of a career that was never looked at as a career when I was younger. And I know that LinkedIn is now kind of leaning towards opening the platform up for creators to use it more effectively, to kind of professionally connect with fellow creators and brands and businesses. Because for me, I think that that's been the journey of a lifetime, is learning my worth, understanding how to communicate that with other brands and come across professional, and continue to kind of merge that with my adult life. Because I mean, when people hear that I'm a social media influencer, they're like, oh, so you get paid to take a picture? And I'm like, I put a lot of work into that.
I mean,
the whole building of a brand.
Who are in the ads on TV, they're being paid to be in those advertisements, and we understand that. So yeah. Woo woo. Somebody asked if we had anything on LinkedIn Learning. I don't, but I'm in some LinkedIn learning courses, but I'm featured. How does that count? What I would say is my best advice is captured inside of, if you want the practical stuff, like we're talking the career journey and the inspiration and kind of the big picture. And I want to talk about some of the things you just said, but just practical. If you want some strategies, I have 4 YouTube videos that are on Social Media Examiner's YouTube channel. They flew me out to San Diego, and I had a whole film crew. And by that, I mean the Social Media Examiner team was amazing. And I filmed and we edited 4 really, really good YouTube videos. So I'm proud of them. But just FYI, just search for Judy Fox and Social Media Examiner. So, okay, that was that practical strategy tip for more of a how-to. But now back to what you just said, and man, he's getting squirmy. Should we risk putting him down? Are you ready to get down? Are you going to not bark? Let's see. Let's hope for it. Okay. I think he's good. I'm kind of crossing my fingers. When it comes to I would love to see everyone embrace LinkedIn, and I would love to delete the idea that it's professional. And I know that's shocking but it is, Judy, but it is. It's how you would show up as a leader in your space. It's not everyone is working in the same business. Not everyone is in the oil and gas industry. Not everybody is a teacher, but are both professions valid? Yes. Not everybody's a nurse. Not everybody's I don't know, pick another industry. Not everybody's an influencer. There's millions of professions out there. And are they all valid? Yes. And who's to say one profession is more professional, or how they show up is more or less professional than another? It's how an artist would show up versus how a C-suite level executive at a Fortune 100 company. They're both valid. And it frustrates me that anyone wants to either gatekeep or put in a box around people's intellectual and their heart and their life's work. Can you imagine telling like a Bob Ross he shouldn't make happy little trees and the videos that he made and the joy he brought people? Do people think that belongs on LinkedIn? His art, would it belong on LinkedIn or would it not? Do you see what I mean? Where people would say everything belongs on LinkedIn. I will be so blunt and say that. I mean, if there's a million professions, they're all technically professional the way they show up. So
yeah, and it's interesting because even in the tech industry that I kind of lived in for a very long time, when it came to like the idea of what a tech professional was allowed to look like when customers were like, they were front facing to customers, watching the industry kind of shift to realize that a lot of the people that they needed to call on as experts didn't fit this like business suit looking look that they wanted. Like they had to start to realize that people are now getting tattoos, and it's not like, it's only unprofessional if you label it unprofessional. People are dyeing their hair different colors. It's only unprofessional if you label it unprofessional. Like if you think those things take away from someone's ability to do something that they know well, then you're wiping a lot of people off the table that probably could do it a lot better than some of the people that focus too much on trying to look a part instead of actually being talented and good at the part that they're playing.
Yeah, I guess and I did see a question, so I want to get to it, but I want to make sure I also say that unprofessional is truly, I mean, again, there's many ways you could, I'm trying to simplify it into a sentence. It's when you hurt people or you damage someone, and that is unprofessional. So this idea that how you look, your tattoo is not bothering anybody. Your hair is not hurting anybody. It's this idea. It blows my mind that anyone created any type of judgment on how people look, how people dress, how people walk, how people talk. And it's truly, I mean, again, I don't know if that's a great definition, but to me, if I just had to look out at a crowd and say who's being unprofessional, it's any of the human beings who are hurting or taking actions to actively hurt somebody else or cause them damage or harm. And that is unprofessional.
Yeah.
I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? I've never shared that before.
No, I think that that's a great way to kind of look at it, because there are so many people that I look at and I'm just inspired by, and they don't fit any standards that are out there set currently for what professional is. And I personally, like, jumping over to running my own business, have to constantly, thank you. I'm constantly having to stop myself from going, well, that doesn't really look professional. Well, that timing's not really professional. Well, this, and it's because that's what society has set as a standard, but it's my business. And I know I'm good at what I do, and I'm passionate about helping other people. And at the end of the day, everything I do is because I want to help people. So if certain things, because like I started this year off with purple hair, and I was like sitting there, I was like, people might think that this is unprofessional. I'm like,
look at my fox ears.
So unprofessional. No,
I mean, I've had
that.
some criticism, and I've had a few people say that could cause you not to get clients. And it reminds me of, there are things that people cannot remove from their body. They cannot change their skin color. They cannot change their hair texture. They cannot change. And I can take these off. So I understand that this, but it just reminds me of this idea that we want to even create things and barriers to people putting something like tattoos on them or doing things that changes something about somebody. And it's so, I don't even know where I'm going with this, other than I think we're just telling everybody listening, just drop the word professional. I just think it's been used in so many harmful ways. It's a great, it meant something good when we were trying to direct each other for how to get access or how to get more career success. And yes, we want things like that, but sometimes we have to drop phrases and terms that were sometimes used in a way that didn't serve everyone. And it didn't serve everyone, because professionals started, just like you said, it started creating, your hair's purple, you're not professional, and you can change your hair. And then it creates other things that we already touched on that people can't change about themselves. If they have a disability, they can't change that. And for some reason, there's just issues in this world with that perception. So we have to start by being like, and I know that sounds crazy, but I dyed my hair pink one time to kind of just do it and say, I'm still professional. I want to do it. And I have a choice that I can do that. And I understand that that's a choice, but I think the more everyone kind of just punches on those boxes of, we need to stop. I don't know if I'm making any sense. I feel like I'm rambling now.
No, I like it. I think that I've talked about how many times labels can be so damaging in any way, shape, or form. Like even saying, I'm a part of this community. That community in itself has labels that come with stereotypes that people list under that label. And no matter what, if we start putting labels and boxes around anything, I think we limit the amount of positive growth that you can have in any field. Just because if you say, here's what you have to match to fit in this box with me, then you don't know if there's someone who doesn't match that, that's going to like blow your mind with this phenomenal idea. And I've had friends that have had anxiety moments at work and they aren't able to complete their task because they're so focused on anxiety created by a label that was placed on them that someone said it's unprofessional of them to do something. And it's like, you didn't get your casework done today because your boss made like undertoned comment about your hair color, and instead of being productive now, you're worried about how every single person is now looking at you on a level of professional like definition. And it's like, if we, people who can change their hair color, can wear fox ears, if we can slowly move that definition of what professional is to as broad as it is, or just take down the walls completely, like that will open so many doors for people who are walking into the door with a disability, or walking into the door with another trait that they can't change about themselves. And I think that it's important for us to realize that, once again, we've got to create the spaces. If it's not currently there, it needs to be created, because everyone deserves a spot.
I have to just hold a space, right, for what you just said. That is what many people have done for me up to this point in my career. I have had people ahead of me it's like holding a door open and saying, you know what, I see you. And sometimes you do have to take the action, and sometimes you do have to do things yourself, but there are the door openers. And I would say those moments have changed my life. And maybe I can't hold a door open for every single human being on the planet, because it's hard, right? Like, yeah. But if you can, it's a ripple effect. I could help one person, and then if that person helped 2 people, or I helped 2 people, I don't want to start with just one. I'm going to help 2 people like this year, and multiply that through your whole career. Can you imagine the impact? And yeah, it feels like, oh, I only helped 2 people. But what if you just thought to yourself, what if those 2 people, all you do is say, can you both help 2 people next year? Like, it's these micro movements that I think we forget, because we feel overwhelmed by helping everyone. And would I love to help everyone? But I actually think you make a better impact if you really, really, really could help. Like, not just help, but like, not help sounds I always kind of challenge the word help. Just take somebody and hold that door for that one person. And if you held 2 doors open this year, 2 doors open next year, 2 doors open, and you challenge them to hold 2 more doors open. So, yeah. And people have done that for me, and I want to acknowledge, and I hope that I do that in reverse. So, but it does feel like a lot of pressure, because sometimes it feels like we as individuals in this society, we just only have so much that we really can do for each other. And I think the pandemic has caused it to feel like, if I cannot help everybody, then I'm doing my own thing and I'm not helping anyone. And I don't want it to be like that. So if all you have the extra energy, like currently, if you're sick or if you're dealing with COVID, that's not the time to help. You need to take care of yourself. It's like that saying, put on your own oxygen mask. And I think we're kind of in that position where maybe right now is the time where I help out the 2 neighbors next to me that are right in the row of the airplane. I don't know why I'm on an airplane now, but I'm only, I mean, exactly, during COVID, you're on an airplane, but sometimes we just make a better ripple effect. And that it's hard. Do we want to help everyone? Yeah, but then it freezes you. So yeah. I don't know if that made sense. And by the way, I wanted to give a shout out to Vinny, because he connected us, and he's here, or he was here. He popped in. So shout out to Vinny.
I like going off of like what you just said there. I left small town Virginia and went to the bigger cities, mainly because it was kind of hard for me to be part of the LGBT community and love myself in the town that I was in at that time. But when I came back and I gained a position of leadership, I had a role where I can make change. And I learned very quickly that you have to raise your voice, even though it's uncomfortable. I know that a lot of spaces make you feel like if you're the door opener, like the person holding the door, that you're a bad person, and then sometimes they try to make you feel like you're special or lucky that someone of your minority status is sitting at this table with everyone else there. And I learned very quickly, I was training leaders. Like, that was my role. And I learned that I had to speak for minority groups in a way. And when I saw seats open, I knew that that wasn't being projected out to minority groups to know it was happening. It's everyone's close friends. That's why the leadership circles never grew any more diverse than they already were. And I was like, you know what? Every position I see open, I'm going to reach out to every diverse friend that I know that would be qualified for those positions and make sure that I was opening as many seats and doors as possible, because we had meetings where I was sitting there looking around and I was like, everyone's a white male. Wow. I'm the most diverse person on this, and it's just because I'm gay, and you can't really see that when you're inviting me to come sit at your table until I open my mouth and I let you know. But when I started to see like women starting to get leadership positions, when I started seeing people of color, people in the LGBT community, like I was so proud of creating that space to where not only were people sitting in those spaces, but they were allowed to say, that comment you just made is so unprofessional in the way that it's racist, it's sexist, it's homophobic, it's transphobic. Like, it's an ableist comment for people who are dealing with disabilities. Like, it was opening doors for people who were going to stand up like I was doing and actually say, hey, like this business isn't really like open to this type of person. What are you going to do to fix it? And getting into those positions of power and being brave enough to raise your voice when things aren't being done that should be done, like it's important. And yeah, if you open that door for two people, you've changed their whole trajectory for their life, or trajectory.
You've potentially changed the whole table.
Yeah.
Because as that table turns over, and we're just picturing the boardroom table now, there's millions of tables on this planet. We're talking about one, let's have a theoretical table right now. Yeah, I mean, would it be great to change everyone at the tables? But just like you said, sometimes change does happen slower than we want it to happen. I mean, I didn't even realize things I didn't know were happening. Sometimes you have to have awareness to even realize people are like that. Like, I know that sounds funny, but sometimes you don't even realize when you're in a particular bubble. For example, I would just say the bubble that I've operated in, I don't know, is that worth this part of the conversation?
Yeah. I mean, I think that there is that disconnect from like corporate discussion and the people that the discussion and choices affect. And I think that it's important to, like, when I worked for Best Buy, they brought us to the table, literally sat with the CEO, and they're like, so we've got this stuff in place. How is that working on your level? And they gave us such freedom of speech. Like, we're like, it's not, it's not working. That it seems like a fairy tale dream to happen. Like, I can understand why you would want that, but it doesn't work that way on our level, because management has to do it, then their managers have to do it, and then their managers have to do it. So a lot of times communication gets so lost in between like processes being done and the reality of, like, we don't live in a make-believe fantasy world where every customer is an angel walking in. And it's important for people to be able to communicate both ways. And I think a lot of times communication goes down, but never, you don't hear a lot of people listening to the conversation being yelled back up to the people making those choices.
Here's what I think, and why I think the discussion about LinkedIn and what I see and I am positive about is instead of us pretend, me and you, let's just, we're going to fight here. I'm just kidding.
Okay.
But no, what if we kind of pit each other against each other to be like, who gets the seat, who has the access, right? So like, I could be jealous of you, I could be feeling like I got edged out, right? So, but really, where is the pain and who is responsible? It is the top. It is the corporate or the societal or systemic kind of all coming down from some serious, deep issues that have worked its way into all fabrics that we can't even see sometimes. But me and you end up fighting. Me and you end up, which doesn't make any sense because we aren't against each other, but we both want that seat, for example. I don't know. I'm not fighting him, by the way, everyone listening. It's just an example of how what I see powerful on LinkedIn and on TikTok, I don't always see it on, I'm being really blunt right now. But I don't see it on Facebook, because what I see on Facebook is people still kind of fighting each other a little bit. Again, I don't spend a lot of time on Facebook, so that is a generalized statement, everybody. On Instagram, I don't know if I see it. It's probably because, again, I don't spend as much time here to see it. But what I do see on TikTok, and what gives me hope and what gives me the positive energy, is seeing the voices who say, this fight of getting at the table, it belongs where we need to actually say these people are the ones responsible for making the decisions that filtered down to random people who truly, they need to just be working together, because it is not their fight. It is us saying that is wrong. They are the ones with the billions. They're the ones with the kind of trickle down effect of benefiting from us not collectively saying, wait, it's not us. We are okay. We like each other. And the tables that got built by the people who built them are wrong, not the seat that we would argue over.
Yeah.
I don't know if I said that clearly.
I think that...
Did I put that's where it reminds me of the movie Ants and the grasshopper. Do you know what I'm talking about? Is that Ants or Bug's Life?
Bug's Life.
Oh, it's Bug's Life. It's Bug's Life. Oh, Hopper. Hopper is the corporate systemic structures that, and we could take Hopper down if we all work together. Okay, that sounds aggressive.
No, but I think that it's interesting how quickly the system is designed to confuse us on where the fight actually is. Like, we will fight each other for that seat till the death, but really, like, it's, why are they fighting for that seat? Like, both are deserving and have an equal voice that is important for that job to run smoothly. And I think that people too quickly attack each other instead of the system that's corrupt and not structured in a way. Because I look at companies and I see beautiful companies that are small, like mom and pop, or started off as like a passion project. And there's like this beautiful connection between CEO and everyone that works under them. And then you see it start to grow, and there becomes this like detach. Instead of them holding hands, now they've got this string that's kind of coming out. They're connected, but the communication has kind of disappeared. And it takes a lot of intention and a lot of like focus and communication for you to maintain that like connection with your employees.
It's gonna be bad. This is my life. You wanna get mad at me? Ugh. And you gotta see his shirt. Show him your shirt. You have the coolest shirt on. Can we see it?
Love it. Yes.
It's a fox. That is so cute.
I absolutely love that.
So this is the chaos that happens. My kid comes downstairs and all chaos erupts. So I liked what somebody said. It was Meg. Meg basically, I'm like pointing. It was Meg. She said we should, the table needs fixed. It needs to be rearranged. More chairs can be put at the table. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of chaos. Can you take the chaos upstairs and not encourage more chaos?
Yeah.
All right.
I definitely think that you have to be intentional with creating that positive change, and you have to give people a space to be brave enough to say that without fear of losing their way of making a living. Because I think that
Somebody just
that's
said
why.
so my son is on brand. I have to say that's hilarious. Thank you, Robert. We had like a fox shirt, fox ears.
Oh gosh, love it.
Something else somebody said, and I want to make sure I say something about it, is they said, where's the future of LinkedIn? And I think eventually I was getting there, is this idea that I'm watching people speak up. People are what I consider messy speaking up on TikTok. When I say messy, they are speaking up at the risk of sometimes losing their jobs. I mean, that is when messy is the wrong word. They are taking a risk of speaking up. They are risking so much, but they are doing it because that's the way to move the chairs. That's the way to put people at the table. And so I love that LinkedIn, to be honest, if I had to put two platforms, as I think LinkedIn and TikTok, I know that sounds crazy to put those two platforms as the place that people are getting brave and they are standing up and they're speaking up. And I am applauding LinkedIn for the action they're taking to try to see and try to say, how can we be better? How can we build a better table? How can we, because I think it's about acknowledging that the tables need to be better. And again, I don't know the inner workings of TikTok. I do think from a business perspective, I sense that LinkedIn is having those conversations, because just watching the creator team be developed, the investment in the gig economy, and realizing that the gig economy, the metaverse, this is the future. It's the difference of us all of a sudden going from having no phone in our car and can't even imagine. I mean, a phone is on a freaking wall in your house, plugged in the old days, and like a little dial that's like, have you ever used one of those?
Yes.
What are those, like rotary phones? Wait,
Yes.
do you have one? I'm just kidding.
I grew up on a farm, so we had an old farmhouse that had one still.
Oh, I love that. Anyone, like, I love the hearts for rotary phones. My grandma had one, and yes, I've had to dial using a rotary phone, to all of a sudden being like, like having to picture a car has a phone in it, and my phone is with me when I drive and I leave my house. The phone is with me, let alone we have the entire internet in our hands right now. And then what is the next leap? And I'm just pointing out that I am paying attention and thinking about intentionally watching the choices and the conversations. And I'm very hopeful for what I see at LinkedIn, that I see them at least saying, wait. We have to fix this. We have to fix this. We can't fix everything, but we can fix this. And watching how they built the creator program and the diversity and the inclusion and the managers they picked, and it's just so good. And people are thinking you're hot. So just FYI.
Love it. Yeah.
People are loving you.
I think that when it comes to, because you were like talking about TikTok and LinkedIn.
Yes.
Like,
I feel like those two platforms make sense. And Clubhouse.
Because I love that LinkedIn has kind of brought in the audio of Clubhouse kind of to their platform, because I do feel like there are some conversations in Clubhouse that like make me start to sweat or get me all shaky from just like the absurdity of some people's thinking. But also, like, it's become a place where we can talk to people from all over the world, share opinions, and for the most part, these rooms are very respectful of giving everyone space to say what they want to say and giving people space to respond to that. And I think, I mean, when it first launched, when I was on there, like, there were CEOs of the large companies just sitting in there talking, and you could just join in and listen or raise your hand and ask a question. And it was very interesting, because I even saw moments where like big people that you would think would only be dishing the advice were getting it from like people in their early 20s and their 30s who are just like, have you ever thought of this? And they're like, what is that? And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
mind blown. Like a huge like Fortune 500 person just learned something new today from someone who doesn't even have a college education. And I think that that type of communication is beautiful to kind of see, and that I do think is going to be important when it comes to correcting how things are kind of structured currently.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you guys can pop in any questions. We're open to questions. We went kind of, I hope none of this was a tangent. I hope it was all positive. I definitely, I'm intentional about where I spend my time. And oh, I see what's happening. So the reason if I can share from a personal standpoint, but I specifically chose LinkedIn, and I'm going to get a little personal here, because it was safe. And when I say safe, I was going through a custody and divorce situation. And when you handle things like that and you end up in any type of situation where you could be facing what you put in writing could end up in a court document. What you put in writing could end up in front of a judge who will judge the validity of you and the having your own custody of your own child. Like, it is crazy to think, right? But we have court cases now where people are bringing up TikToks and people are using things as evidence, right? I mean, both corporations are doing like, so I have an awareness that what you say in the world, it can live on forever at this point. It will live on forever. So it's more and more awareness of, yes, you want to speak up, but it kind of, the reason why I picked LinkedIn over everything else was because, and I'll just, if I can be kind, it's kind of funny, but I played in my head a court proceeding. It never happened, but I played it in my head. We have evidence to submit that Judy made a post on January 19th on LinkedIn, and we will read this post to the court for her post on LinkedIn, and the judge would be like, she posted that on LinkedIn. Like, do you see what I mean? Like, there's a perception of LinkedIn that I was like, I'm just going to go to LinkedIn in case anything ever comes up. Somebody's going to have to be like, she posted that on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you have things that are big, like custody or your livelihood or your career on the line, to be honest, I found that I could speak up, and LinkedIn challenged me to find a way to speak up that I wasn't going to I was still going to say things, but I was going to find the way to say it so I would be okay with that living on forever. And I do think that mindset for me was helpful to do that. And I went through a 4-year court case in my head. I handled that whole situation for 4 years. So.
Yeah. And it's interesting because when I started growing a following and with all the movements and everything that have been going on, and me being someone who is an activist within a lot of those movements, I started to put a lot more thought into even my Facebook posts, because I knew that now, instead of just my friends and family who knew me off the internet, now I was being judged by people that their only sight of me might be a specific post. And I started realizing that I need to back off of social media because I need to educate myself before I make a statement on this. And it made me realize that I do have to be a little bit more understanding of where my opinions came from and why I have them. And honestly, because of that, because of all the movements and everything that's happened and all the different podcasts I've been asked to speak on, I learned that taking that time to make sure that I'm creating an image and an understanding of the world around me, that now I can go on lives and speak pretty quickly on an opinion, because I have formed core values that I stand behind, and I have created a pretty much a quick summary of who I am very quickly, that any question someone asks, I can quickly go, Does that match my core values? How does that impact me in my future? Okay, here's my response. And I think that LinkedIn for you was kind of that setting up earlier for you than it did for me. But that's creating that mindset that I think more people should have. Like, it's great that people are using platforms to create change, but with our words, with our videos, with our posts, we can also move things backwards or help the side that we are trying to oppose and overcome by making an incorrect or false or ignorant statements that we don't realize can be turned against us in the fight that we're trying to fight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so when I think of the viral posts I've seen on LinkedIn that have, I think it is opening eyes of people who don't spend time other places. And
Yeah.
that's why I want the conversations there. There are C-suite executives that are not spending any time on zero time on Instagram, zero time on TikTok, but they are listening. And again, if you have a hot take, sometimes I tell people, write it out or speak it out in the moment and then look back. So I had a hot take. Is hot take the right word? I'm just using random phrases my kid says. I'm spilling the tea.
Go for it.
Well, there was a post that I hesitated to make because I disagreed with something on the platform. I disagreed with a message and a mission that was happening, that was taking a movement that was actually making it into the LinkedIn news. And I disagreed very strongly with it. So I'll tell you what it is, but I ran that post by a few people before I made it. I copy and pasted what I wanted to write. And I said, if I post this on LinkedIn, it's a strong opinion, but I want to find a way to phrase it so it can be heard. Sometimes, again, I know I don't want to always play that dance, but sometimes we realize we should just be able to say, right? We should just be able to talk. But yeah. Is there a balance between I want to get this freaking out and I want to find a way that a C-suite level executive or somewhere out in the world is going to see it and hear it? And is there a balance? I don't know. Like, I'll tell you what the post was, but
yeah,
I'm teasing the post.
I definitely think that there's a balance when it comes to, because you have to think that people are coming from all different walks of life reading that post. So how can you write it in a way that is going to be understood by a large group of people or the people that you're aiming to get the post to? Like, if there's someone from another country that you don't really care, it's not ever going to impact them. Doesn't matter if they fully understand it, but how can you make a statement that the people you're trying to get to hear and understand your perspective? I think it does require some thought behind it, and it's not something that's just natural. The more you do it, I think the more natural you become. But every new situation I've found myself in, I'm okay, I need a little bit more education around this because I could easily discredit everything that I've done with a statement that shows that I lack the initiative to educate myself before speaking.
Yes. I really like what you said. And honestly, I as you were saying that, I realized part of this post, I wanted to honor the intention and the heart and the mission, because I think the mission was good, but they chose a hashtag that was harmful. There you go. So it's interesting that you might have a mission and an energy, but you choose something in that marketing campaign. You sit in a desk, you sit in a small conference room, and you're like, yeah, we should do this. And you don't run the hashtag past a bunch of people. So you end up creating a movement, and the hashtag is harmful. The movement was good. So the movement was to inspire the next generation. The whole movement was meant to inspire people on LinkedIn, specifically anyone further in their career. It had a bit of a further in your career. You should share something from your past. This is the intention of the movement, and I wanted to honor it because it was a good intention, but I'll tell you what the hashtag is. The intention is, I'm older in my career. I've got 10 years under my belt plus. I don't know what the age was, but it had a bit of a looking back. Can you position a little bit of yourself to give yourself a career story so you could inspire the next person who could have been you, and find that link to talk to your younger self? So it was a post about talking to your younger self. And I think that's a great movement on LinkedIn too. But the hashtag was hashtag this little girl is me. It was hashtag this little girl. And the reason why I've been through my lens and my world, the use of girl at 45 years old to position my leadership, my C-suite level meetings, being put in front of a board of directors, I should never be referenced as a girl in that setting. That is where they dig. What's that thing called? An aggression. It is, I don't even know. It's like these things that people do that dig away at I have my master's degree. I have my chemical engineering degree. And I'm now at 45 having to explain that all of that experience, that is not the campaign. And here's the final kicker, and I called LinkedIn on it. The branding that went with it was young children with pigtails and girls and pictures of young children. And I looked at the LinkedIn news, and at the same day, at the same time, there was a LinkedIn news article featuring hashtag this little girl is me, and all the stories and the branding. They picked a stock image, and the stock image was girls on a playground with pigtails on LinkedIn. And counter that was an article and a book they were launching. So somebody made it into the LinkedIn news, and it was the guy from, it had nothing to do with him, but he just happened to be launching a book that day. And his news article happened to be in my eye line, and it was men sitting at a table at desks at the stock image, having a meeting. And I'm supposed to think to myself, my opinion is valued on this platform when those are the stock images that come to mind as the choice to elevate. And if I visually want to compare news stories, I'm comparing women's career stories from C-suite level executives being paired, and it's just visual, it's being paired with kids on a playground. It doesn't make sense. It made no sense to me. So I shared my career story, and I put a note saying, I can't technically join this campaign because you're promoting that we should talk about women's careers by referencing women as little girls. And my whole journey is negated by joining a campaign to say, hashtag this little girl. I don't want to say hashtag this little girl. So there you go. Yeah. That was I made a post, and I don't know if it resonated. It got, I don't know, maybe 50,000 views, but it was not about the views, but I was like, we have to fix things like this before they go out. That didn't belong. Does that make sense? Did I just go off on a whole tangent? And I can't fix every culture and every category of human being, but I knew that calling women little girls, it was like little and girl together. I'm a little lost.
Yeah, no, I think that is a position of privilege that someone didn't allow to process, because maybe they don't see the negative impacts of making a statement so strong like that, because that is something that women have had to battle against their whole careers, to be professional and looked at and spoken to at the equal level of a man that's standing next to them in the same role. And I think that having that visual image of pretty much men in suits being all professional, and then all the women being represented by the younger picture of little girls in the most stereotypical like way, that can be extremely damaging in a way that it only hurts the people that it's like pointing their finger at, and other people will be like, hey, at least you've got like a space, at least we're trying to, and they make it almost seem like if you disagree with that like
I was
motive.
nervous to disagree. Yeah.
And I think that's where, like, when I was saying creating spots at the table doesn't just like, if you don't create a spot at the table for people and also give them the right to disagree and educate you on the things your privilege blinds you to, then it's not a seat at the table. It's just like you get to sit there, but everyone's got headphones in that you don't get to listen to. You just kind of get to sit there and go, wonder what they're talking about. And I think that that's so important to talk about stuff like that, because I mean, my privilege has been called out so many times, and I had to learn to stop getting defensive and stop like defending my ideas and actually listen to the people who are saying, hey, that was really offensive. And just because it's not offensive to me and I don't understand the pain that my statement or action has done to someone else, doesn't mean that that pain that they're feeling is any less valid, and it needs to be addressed. Because if one like woman feels that way, then there are tons of them behind that person that also feel that way, that might not be in a position to say it, and they just have to suffer through it, and that's not fair.
I will say it got hundreds of comments because of what you just said. People said in the comments, the main comment was, there was something that I felt, but I couldn't put my finger on why that didn't make sense. It came from a good place. Let's highlight women's journeys and their careers. And it was a movement that was happening, and it was catching hold, and it was coming from a good place, but it was not the right phrasing, and it was not the right hashtag. So, and then the imagery just sent me over the edge. And I'll give you one more reason why it pushed me. I actually filmed a TikTok video on it, and I put it behind me, and I showed green screen. Here's what I see in the LinkedIn news right now. Make it make sense. Make it make sense, LinkedIn. And it's interesting because in my video, I said little girl, because that's the hashtag. The hashtag was little girl. Like, I was using the phrase that LinkedIn gave me, right? And I'm like, and I'm showing it on the screen, and I showed the girls with the pigtails. And do you know what happened to my TikTok video? It got taken down because it was thinking I was talking about little girls.
Yeah.
And LinkedIn and TikTok thought it was an inappropriate video, and it was under review. Yeah. And I was like, I'm referencing the LinkedIn news. So that, to me, that TikTok would literally flag my video because it was questionable what I was talking about. Isn't that crazy? That's crazy. And that is a sign that there's something wrong if I'm showing the LinkedIn news.
Yeah. And I think that that's something that people don't realize how like that can trigger tons of, like, that's trauma that has been given to a group of people that not everyone understands. If you are not a woman who as a little girl heard things, and I mean society, everything, society has so many labels and beliefs and structures that they've put us in. And when you use your journey as a way to break down structure, and then you see someone just like put it right back up so tight like that, it's just like, no, don't do that. And it's just like that. You are trying to make a space for the next generation of women to have a space where they don't have that negative thought when they're referred to as girls. Like, there's not that negative connotation when someone says, well, when you were a young boy, like,
I don't hear boy, where's Boy Boss Club? And where's the I don't know. Do you have a Boy Boss mug or something? Like, you look like you're
yes, right here.
Boy Boss CEO.
yeah, I mean,
I mean, we
everyone
make
kind of
fun of
faces
it,
that.
but we have Boss Babe, and where's the Boss Hunk? I mean, I don't know. I love, there's a woman named Rachel K. Albers, and she has a whole YouTube video on, she flips the girl boss language and flips everything to boy. And it's basically showing through humor. She uses humor, and I love people who use humor. Just thank you. Thank you for using humor to help the trauma of the communications, because humor breaks down walls of being able to get access to people's brains that would just close up. So
I mean,
sometimes humor or big fox ears or
sometimes
positive
you have to
talk.
have like the angles flipped for people to understand how absurd certain people like. I think one of the most powerful images I've ever seen was like a little white girl standing on a toy aisle and there was all black dolls. And they're like, this is pretty much what little black kids have, anyone of different skin tone than white have to see when they walk into a toy store. And that plays with your mind right from your childhood. Like that's, it doesn't have to say something racist on the box, but only seeing tons of white Barbies on 3 aisles of girl doll toys, like that's making a statement that we need to get better at. Like, and
Mm-hmm.
people are saying, let's get better. And people have to stop saying, oh, that doesn't impact anyone. That doesn't affect anyone in a negative way. It does. And I mean, just having social media platforms for the LGBT community, you're already seeing such positive progress for the community that didn't exist when we had no representation sitting anywhere. And I think that it's important for people to realize, like, we've got to keep pushing. Like, everything has to be fixed. Everyone needs
Is
to
it
feel
okay that I
represented.
saw a TikTok video today that was funny? Again, I'm on the humor, but it said LGBTQ plus. What is the plus? Is that the premier level? And that was the like what, and it was like an innocent question, like what is the plus? Is it premier level? Is it
Love it.
like, and it was so funny because the comments, of course, the comments on TikTok are gold, and the
Yeah.
comments were like, yeah, it's Amazon Prime level. Like, it's just like the plus level of, it was funny. I mean, I hope that was okay. I just, one of those things where I'm like, I'm being exposed to things that why would I even know? Like, there's just things that I don't know. We are raised certain ways, and you really truly only know what you know. And the best way you'll expand your mind is to change your circle, change your algorithm, choose not to scroll your algorithm, choose to go seek out names. And I choose to search for like top 10 lists or people who do summaries, or they're called the Mavens. There's a book by, I talk about this book all the freaking time, but there's a book by Malcolm Gladwell who talks about different personalities out there for what's called tipping point. But whether you're thinking about that or not, there's natural personalities called mavens, and those people can be your resource to change your life and your algorithm and your news feed. And they, if you're going to do your research, find those people because they're going to introduce you to new people. I would consider Drummond a maven, because mavens and the way they show up is they introduce their audience to new people. They take the effort, and that is a powerful way of showing up in this world. There's connectors who create connections and dots between people. You're creating a one-to-many, me and you are having a one-to-one, which is a one-to-many conversation. And then there's the persuaders, the people who are, they have a microphone, they're on stages, they are making this like, you know, the persuaders, the potential people we call influencers, but influencers gotten muddled with money. It's gotten muddled with brand deals.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about the influencers, the people who really are on real stages speaking truth. I don't know what to say, but yeah.
Yeah.
And these platforms, I will tell you, these platforms give us access to tap into those people. And so follow on LinkedIn. I think if anyone's listening, if I can impart anything, I think LinkedIn did a great job of creating what I call the 100 creators. They picked a diverse crowd. They picked people from all walks of life, all backgrounds, it looks so diverse that I can tell from the outside looking in. Somebody can tell me you're wrong, Judy, let me know. But I think if they were going to pick 100 people, they did not chase numbers. It doesn't look like they completely chased external metrics. I think they really chased human beings and their applications and what they said. So I filled in the application myself to see what the application process was. And I think they did as much as they could to try to get people at this table. So if you need to change your LinkedIn algorithm, if you get on LinkedIn and you say, I'm a young professional, I like Drummond, then follow him and see who he's hanging out with, because it's just one step that you have to take, one step and one choice. So your choice today is to go follow Drummond on LinkedIn. Choice number one.
Yes.
Choice number two is just pay a little bit of attention. When you get on LinkedIn, don't scroll the news feed, go straight to Drummond's activity. Ben, you go by Ben on there. I'm so confused now. Is that okay?
Yeah, you're perfectly fine. And
okay, find him on LinkedIn. Are you going to put your link somewhere? Do do people that follow you here get to go to LinkedIn? Or are they?
They can.
Okay.
I haven't really put LinkedIn on like my link
for
people to find, but
problems
I
right now? Am I causing you professional problems?
No, I think that is like a beautiful like thing to do for people. Like, you have to get out of your echo chambers. And I mean, that's what I wanted to do with Positive Talks. That I try to do that with my life in general. Like, I love when people question me and challenge the way I see the world. And I think that doing that, companies need to start doing that intentionally internally, because a lot of times you see diversity at the bottom, and as you get to the top, it's not diverse at all. Mm-hmm. But I think that it's important for people to do that and share their opinions on platforms, share their opinions with their bosses. And I think that realizing that there are people out there, like, if you're not a speaker, if you're not an educator, like if you don't find joy in educating people about your community or your journey, like, know your resources, like know other people that can speak for you, because I've learned that it's very draining to try to educate people who know nothing about your journey, because when you're talking about your struggles and all the things you have to come up against, whether it's because you are a female or part of the African American community, the Latino community, the disabilities, the LGBT, like, when people just don't get it, you start shaking and you just are drained. There are people out there, they can do it. They can sit there and have someone not understand them and keep going with the beat until someone understands them. And that's the type of person you want to guide those people that need that education to. Guide them to a rally where they can listen to someone speak that's persuading people to see something differently. But like, realize that if you're not one of those people, that's not bad. Like, just because you
I
are
love that you're saying that, because it's not bad. And I just want to encourage that it's even micro actions, because the weight of me doing the research should be on me. And I'm just gonna make it really easy. It's not hard for me to do that research if I just think about one human being and I say, that human being, if I follow them and pay attention, they're going to lead me to where I need to find the answers. Because just like you said, your mission, I see, just like I said, you have a one-to-one, we're having a one-to-one conversation, but it goes out to many. That is a great energy, and we need that. But we can't expect everyone to be that persuader energy and that educator energy, and that everyone's got a different like bandwidth, emotional and mental and physical, and we all have different trauma. So if I follow you, and I would get closer to accounts that you might interact with, and I should watch who you're interacting with, and I should say, okay, look who he's following, look who he follows on Instagram. And that's the research that I think everyone is capable. And it's, to me, that's not hard. It's not hard for me to look at your followers list. And that, does that put pressure on you? I'm asking now to realize that you should tell people, just check out who I'm following. That's the best way to start learning. If you feel like you don't know what you don't know, check out who I'm following and follow all of them. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say that, right?
I always tell people, like, look in the comments under my photos and follow those people. Those are the people I'm connected with. Follow everyone I've ever done a positive talk with. Those are the people that inspire my way of seeing the world. And I'm the type of person that, in the comments, when people are like, I have an interesting story, I would love to talk to you about it, and I'm like, let's do it. I've done positive talks with people from all walks of life, and as long as you come to me like, hey, I think you're missing a spot, I'm like, let's fill it. Like, I'm all about bringing someone's voice to the table, and I'm perfectly okay being the person sitting here saying, I don't know what you're talking about, educate me. Or if I make a mistake, I want someone to be like, you made a mistake. And like you were talking earlier about the hashtag on LinkedIn, that could have been easily avoided if they just Google searched, why do women not want to be called girls or referred to as girls? And I bet you there's probably thousands of women online who have vlogged about it, who have written articles about why that is something that would be offensive to someone who has worked hard in their professional career. Like, that's not something that should have been like, oh, just one person doesn't like it. It's like, do a little bit of research, because even when I was talking about like Black Lives Matter, I reached out to all my friends from all different backgrounds, and I was like, did I say anything? Is there more places that I could have like put a little bit more attention on? Could I have learned? Like, my privilege blinds me in a lot of ways, and I am willing to hear what people say to open my eyes more, because unfortunately we are all blinded by something that we have been kind of given through privilege. And the more you take time to educate yourself, first, the internet and books are great, and then try to find someone who can kind of share and clarify some stuff that, like, the internet can give you both stories no matter what. But
it is true.
Educate yourself enough to ask educated questions that will be less offensive to people when it comes to... You could
probably even Google, how do I educate myself?
Yeah.
Just FYI.
LinkedIn
Every phrase on the earth is Googleable at this point. I appreciate what you said, and you're right. I see what I've seen because I've been through my life experience. And I did, when I wrote that post on LinkedIn that I thought got a lot of traction, but I see so many great posts. That's the point. I see people speaking up, and I'm so excited for that on LinkedIn, because we need people to say, wait, that's not okay what just happened, or wait, yeah, there's a lot of stories like that. I don't want to go into them all, but I did, in my post, I wrote, the intent of the campaign is good, but the hashtag is wrong, and here's why. And I did my research, and I presented it to the world, and I said, it is, and here's an article. I found a Forbes article that said why calling women girls is a bigger deal than you may think. And it was a Forbes article. And I was like, if that alone, it's because it's on Forbes. If you don't believe me, take this resource, because I need people to understand the word girl has been it's been proven and shown to be a disadvantage and used as a phrase to disadvantage women in the workforce, to pay them less, to pull out their seat at the table, to diminish the effort they did on a project. Oh, good job, girls. Good job for putting on that event, girls. Like, and then coupling it with the word little. It's diminishing language. It's small language. It's impact language that is make yourself smaller so you can fit at the table language, and don't make a noise so we forget that you're at the table language. Just be quiet so you can sit here and we can feel good about putting you at the table, but we don't really want to notice that you're there because you're a little girl. Yeah. It's like, can you be our token little girl at the table? Like, it's the language, and people can use that language for any category. We're back to labels, but that's why I was like, what the hell is happening? Why am I having to speak about this? But again, I had the energy and the power where somebody else maybe didn't. And so I spoke up, and I'm glad I did. And I just want to tell people, all of that is professional. All of that belongs. Disagreement can belong on LinkedIn. Disagreement and speaking up and saying, stop. This needs to be changed. This needs to be different. And I'm really, really liking that, because I feel like, again, the corporate concept of professional held people back from saying what they really wanted to say. And we should not be against each other. We're kind of saying, hey, we are together. And I'm pushing back against, I don't know what I'm pushing back against, but whoever created that, no offense to them, but there was something happening that was coming down from a corporate level, to be honest. It really was. So,
I mean, one of my whole things when it comes to coaching with clients is I listen like so intently on the words people use to describe themselves or a situation or other people, because words carry so much energy and belief in them that it's subliminal for the most part. But we've accepted certain words as a reality to describe ourselves and the people around us and the environments we exist in. And if you do listen to the way a lot of women speak about themselves, they've adapted to allowing themselves to be called things like that because society hasn't given them space to push back. And when I've worked with women clients, that's one of the first things I start to notice is I'm like, you take away your own power as well. And it's not your fault. That's like, society has trained you to think that way. Your parents maybe taught you that way because generations before have said the women stand behind their men. And it's so interesting to kind of point that out to people. And it's funny because they're like, oh yeah, it doesn't mean anything. And I'm like, but it does. And as soon as you start making those small changes and like the way you hold your body, because there's so many different things that we're doing subliminally that's sending out a message and then pulling in the interactions we get. And I'm like, I promise that it seems so small that I'm really just tugging at this a lot, but I'm telling you, take it out, replace it with a power word, refer to yourself that way, and then watch the changes that start to occur around you. It's magical, and it's important for people to realize there is power behind the words you use.
Yeah, I know we probably have to wrap up, but I want to say that we went over. Is this supposed to end in an hour? Because we went over.
They used to kick you off. They used to like kick you off, like it would show a little countdown, but Instagram knew that I needed more time.
I will say that I created a Pinterest board of visual. I created there were two concepts, and I'm linking this to LinkedIn for anyone thinking about, again, I'm trying to take up space. Whereas maybe I wasn't taking up space, or I wasn't, and visually that matters too. So when I went to a photo shoot with a branding photographer, Sophia, I love her. I created a Pinterest board, and two of the things I wanted, think about what you want in life. Anyone sitting here, it doesn't matter who you are, wherever you want to be in the future, put examples of those people. So for example, I'm grabbing examples of pictures of Sara Blakely. I'm grabbing examples of pictures of I think at one point I had like Julia Roberts. I mean, I don't want to be Julia Roberts, but you get the picture. Like, I see people as having successful careers, or I don't remember all the pictures and the names of the people I grabbed, but I also grabbed conference pictures where it was all men in the lineup. And I'll explain why. Because I wanted to create visual imagery that I could tell my photographer, take a picture that belongs in that lineup. I know that sounds like a weird thing, but here's the difference. I know that that creates one more potential opportunity to be at the table. And it's like a balance. But I also said, if that's the current lineup, and the thing I want to say about that is, it's not that it's trying to make me look like a guy. It's about, there's a direct to camera or an angle of the face, and it's not looking over my shoulder. And it's so, if you see the lineups of conferences that contain whatever, it's all white people, it's all one thing, right? Whatever it is, I don't care. If it's all one thing, is it wrong of me to say to my photographer, make me, if somebody photoshopped me in, I lined up? I mean, I don't know. I looked at her and I said, I want to belong in all these pictures. So it's like, I don't know. It worked for me. And to be honest, what I ended up finding is most of the pictures I'm big. Like the Amy Cuddy, or is it Amy Purdy? I like both of them, by the way, Amy Cuddy and Amy Purdy. Amy Cuddy has a psychology of being big and taking up space and spreading. So I was woman spreading. I don't know what to call it. That sounds wrong. But yeah. Do you know what I'm talking about? Where like you might sit down in a crowded subway car and some people just take up space. Or I've heard that if you're walking on a busy sidewalk in a busy city, that most women make themselves small and move over to the side. Or there's not just women, but different cultures will move or do different things. But there's some people who just take up space. And I'm not saying take up space to be rude to other people, but grab that space at the table. So if I take up space, I could pull up 2 more chairs next to me because I took up enough space. Yeah. So that kind of like energy and vibe.
I think that's like privilege, that some people don't realize that they don't realize that they take up space and are unapologetic about that space that they are taking. Whereas other people have less self-worth. I looked at the way I held my body when I know I didn't have self-worth to where now I have it. And I was like, wow, look at where I'm taking up space here. Whereas like before, if I sat down somewhere, I did like put my legs together. I like almost leaned to the side to kind of make more space for other people. Whereas like now when I sit down, like I will place both my feet on the ground and my elbows will be out and I'm sitting there. I'm like, wow, like that was a process I had to go through. But yeah, that's a subliminal thing that we as people do when we think that we don't deserve as much space as someone else beside us. And I think that it's important to like take note of that.
And I think the visual thing also was whenever I was sitting in a chair, I wanted to look like I took up the whole chair. Like I was, so if I look back at those branding pictures, I have my arms outspread on the chair, but all my example pictures were direct to camera. And if you start to notice, there's a lot of photography for women that makes them look small in their branding pictures. So I know that sounds funny, but like I saw it, and I so that's why I'm thinking, if you come on LinkedIn, take up space, come on in. If you need a chair next to me, I took up some space, so come on in.
I've got some chairs beside me.
I want to encourage you. So even if you can't see all the ways that LinkedIn exists, come to my posts. I've taken up some space. Come be on that post or be on the stage. I'm supporting the LinkedIn audio rooms with Vinny, and we'll give you space on the stage. Let's take up some space here, people. And LinkedIn is a great place to take up some space. Is that a good positive ending? Take up space.
I love it. I think that's a great message to end on. And I mean, if there's something out there that you want to see and you don't see it, create the space yourself and people will come, because you're not the only person that's thinking that way. You might be the one that starts it, but you won't be the only one sitting at the table if you open your doors to that.
Yes. And thank you for everyone being here. I could talk forever with this guy.
Me too.
Follow him and follow him on LinkedIn. I swear, because I know you're going to connect with people through following him. So that's it. We're done. I'm just kidding.
Awesome.
I
Well,
don't know. You
wanna
probably know
say,
there's a better way.
yeah, I want to just say thank you for coming on here and doing this with me. And I'm just excited that you and I connected through Vinny and that we actually live in the same city. So when COVID isn't like looming on our doorsteps, like I'm definitely excited about meeting
You're
up.
invited over to the house, and yes, and thank you everyone. I feel like sometimes during this conversation I've said things that I feel nervous to say because I don't normally talk like this. I don't know. I'm doing my thing, but behind the scenes I'm definitely thinking about how people have helped me and how I can turn around and help some people. So
it's the best way to live life.
let's do it.
Awesome.
Let's do it.
I will talk to you soon. I will definitely keep in touch.
Feel better. And thank you for
Yes.
being out so long with you not feeling good.
My medication is keeping me going for right now.
Good job. All right. Thank you.
Yep. Bye.